Well, the current situation with regards to stray animals in Sri Lanka, by the way, we now call them community animals. That's the more correct terminology. So there really isn't any hard and fast situation policy at the moment. We are all eagerly awaiting the passing of the Animal Welfare Bill. This has been in the doldrums for over 25 years. And every year we keep hoping that the Animal Welfare Bill will be passed and that our community animals, our wildlife will be protected, but that is yet to be. Minister Namal Rajapaksa is trying to now get this through, and it's a very laudable initiative. I really and truly hope, I fervently hope that he does push it through. We've been waiting for it long enough. With regards to community animals, we now have an estimated, it's over 3,000 animals, community animals in Sri Lanka. They are currently being fed in Colombo and some of the cities like Kandy, maybe a couple of places like Norelia, Jaffna. In Jaffna, the situation is very bad, by private organizations like myself. The government has a sterilizing program, a sterilizing and vaccinating program, which is supposed to happen year-round. Unfortunately, that is not the case. If it was the case, we would not be having any stray animals in the country as of now, as I speak. We have done an estimate, and according to that, if the government, the municipality, the health ministry, if they use the funds that's allocated to them and continue without a break, sterilizing and vaccinating both females as well as male dogs, in the life cycle of one parliament, that's 5 years, the stray animal population, the community animal population can be reduced, controlled, and in a matter of 10 years, this will virtually be a thing of the past. In other countries such as our neighbors, India, Bangladesh, the accepted norm for controlling the community animal problem is capture, vaccinate, sterilize, release. It's called CNVR, capture, neuter, vaccinate, release. This is practiced everywhere, especially in third world countries like ours. So I really see no reason why we can't do it here in Sri Lanka. The budget is there, the funds are there. There are a lot of animal welfare activists who are only too willing to collaborate with the CMC, with the ministry, with the government officials, and help them wherever you can, we can. You see, if you love an animal, you really don't want to see it walking the roads in danger of being knocked down by a car, starving or mangy. But on the other hand, neither is taking them off the road and then dumping them into some kind of a dog village or a dog shelter. That is not the answer either. In fact, that kind of thinking is archaic. The practice today is CNVR, capture, neuter, vaccinate, release back into the same territory. If this is done without a break, if this is done in a systematic, organized fashion, believe me, in the lifetime of one parliament, the stray animal population can be greatly controlled and greatly reduced. Animals are part and parcel of our society, especially in third world countries like ours. They are necessary. They are necessary for the environment. They are necessary for the ecology. Animals and people have, for centuries, coexisted together. So now just because you want to put up a couple of high-risers and just because you want to put up some highways, that doesn't mean, wham, all the community animals go out of sight. We have our own culture, we have our own civilization, we have our own beliefs that we have to live by. This is a predominantly Buddhist country. So just because you want to beautify your city, your town, your environment, that doesn't mean you collect all the stray animals and, do away with them or dump them into a dog village. You have to think long term. You have to think of what is sustainable. You have to think of what is humane. And the humane manner is CNVR. Meantime, animal activists such as myself, we go out, we feed every day, we treat accident victims, we vaccinate, we sterilize, we rehome. I mean, there are a lot of people who are doing a tremendous job, unaided by any government organization. And if not for us, I shudder to think of what would have happened to the stray animals, particularly during COVID. We were all out there every day battling with the authorities to get curfew passes. Supplies were in short, supplies such as rice, dal, sprats. I mean, they were hard to come by. But still we managed. That is because we had a passion, we were committed. So as individuals using our own funds, if we can do this, surely the government, which has allocated budgets for animal welfare, for population control, surely they can utilize those budgets. An animal is a living, breathing thing. It's not some inanimate object that you can just brush aside and say, oh, they're not important. They are part of our culture, they're part of our environment. And it's up to us to look after them and resolve the problem in as best a way as we can. Stray animals are not a problem, they are our responsibility. They are here because Sri Lankans, I would say 90% of Sri Lankans, do not sterilize their animals. Even owned animals are not sterilized. We need laws, we need the animal welfare bill to be in place. We need laws where responsible pet ownership where pet owners are made to realize that they have a responsibility towards their pets. You have to sterilize your pet. You can't let your dog wander outside your front gate. You see, in Sri Lanka, most owner dogs are out on the road, even in the heart of Colombo. So if there are laws and if there are penalties that people have to pay, if they don't adhere by these laws, if they are not responsible towards their pets, then the stray animal problem, the community animal problem would not exist. It's we as human beings who have created it by our irresponsible actions.
Firstly, I would say it helped me being carnivorous kind of all my life. When I actually did become a vegetarian, it was because can I just start it again? Yeah, sorry. How being a vegetarian affects my lifestyle is I find now, especially because I was carnivorous all my life, I kind of feel a lot lighter, my breathing pattern is better, and I feel sort of more energetic. I also am an animal activist, so I think that helps me hugely because I know I'm not saving them to eat them, because I find it kind of hypocritical when someone says that an animal activist and they actually eat for sort of meat, right? So that kind of helps me a lot. How it affects my lifestyle is, in Sri Lanka it's a little tough because everywhere you go everything is kind of meat based, and so from the food side of things I think it's a little difficult. However, it's not impossible. I'm not really a person who enjoys the gym much. I kind of I prefer my own style of workout. I prefer my own kind of because I hate the whole regimented thing. Like I noticed the difference between when I was a meat eater and now the fact that I'm not one has, I think, also greatly helped me in a lot of ways. I'm not sure whether this impacts on each person individually, but it certainly has for me. More so, I feel pertaining to this particular day, especially, I feel that living in a country where I guess you're dealing with a lot of in a tropical country where you're dealing with a lot of food that actually is farmed and is actually easily accessible. The funny thing that I find is that, as much as I think as it is difficult to find food for me, I think when you actually go out and do it yourself, it's much easier. So I don't know, this whole balance is interesting.
The Animal Welfare Bill in Sri Lanka has been an ongoing project for 10 years now, and it was started by a group of animal welfare activists and organizations who have been seeing it through over the years. It is at the final stages now, and we are all very hopeful that something positive will happen and it will be passed very soon. So we are all looking forward to that. I think animals in Sri Lanka, the wildlife in Sri Lanka does have some laws to protect them, but it's the domestic animals that have very few laws to protect their rights. And it's time that Sri Lanka activates the Animal Welfare Bill, and it's time that each one of us also makes a difference to live in harmony with all animals in Sri Lanka, because Sri Lanka is a beautiful country that has everything from forest to wildlife to animals and compassionate people. We need to be compassionate, we need to be kind, and we need to live in a country where people, animals and the environment are all valued all together.
I personally chose a plant-based diet and veganism as a lifestyle choice based on the fact that I try to avoid any abuse or any sort of unnecessary harm to animals. And this is nothing to do with a diet that is health related or any of that. So this is what would be considered an ethical vegan, and I choose this purely for my love of animals. I couldn't understand how I can bring together loving my doggies and at the same time eating other sentient beings. So with World Animal Day upon us, I think it is really important to understand that the planet we live on is a shared space and that it is meant for all beings, and just because we are at the top of the proverbial food chain does not mean that we can have our way and abuse and take advantage. So my choice today and moving forward is to make sure that all sentient beings are respected and that we ensure their well-being, not only for ourselves but for future generations as well.